everyone. I'm Jessica with that hashtag show, and I'm here today with Liana Kocher, also known as Rektok Ross, to talk about her new book, Spring Harvest, which I have right here with me.
Oh, yay.
So take me back to the beginning. Where did the idea for Spring Harvest come from?
So this is actually my third thriller, and this is a really fun one. So I had this idea a really long time ago. I'm both in Northern California, and then we also just moved to Las Vegas. So we kind of split between the two. And when I first moved to California, like, I don't even know, over 10 years ago, I was doing the drive down to LA. So I used to go every now and then to see friends or for work. And I don't know if you're familiar with California at all. Okay.
Through that desert, yeah.
Okay, so when you do this drive, there's this like tiny little crazy farm town in the middle of nowhere that's called Gilroy. And I'd never seen it before. I was born and raised in Florida. So it caught my attention because there's these huge billboards that say Gilroy, the garlic capital of the world. And of course, like my little like writer brain, and at the time I was practicing law. So I think I was like also having like little snippets of writer brain in between lawyer brain. But I immediately started thinking, I think as one does, who writes thriller and horror books, of vampires as soon as you hear the word garlic. And so I remember thinking on the drive, just like it's a long drive, so you have a lot of time to have these crazy ideas. I remember thinking, that's so bizarre. Like, how does one become the garlic capital of the world? How do you have that much garlic? Why would you need to have that much garlic that you would become the garlic capital of the world? And I had this wild idea of like, what if this little farm town, hundreds of years ago, was this epicenter for vampire activity? And so the townspeople all came together and decided to grow garlic, and they eradicated all the vampires. And then we were dealing with a lot of like fires and droughts during that time period. And again, like my crazy writer brain goes off into this other tangent, like, okay, maybe that is the history of the town. What if there's a drought and all of a sudden they can't grow the garlic anymore? What if this is like the first time they have a harvest and there's no garlic? Would all the vampires start coming back? And so I keep like a little notepad on my iPhone on Apple Notes of like all these just insane ideas. And so I had this one for like 10 years. I wrote Ski Weekend and I wrote Summer Rental and I have a novella. I wrote all of that first. And I knew I wanted to do, so Ski Weekend's the first book. It's a thriller. It's in the mountains. I knew I wanted to do like 4 books as a whole series. And I knew I wanted to do each one a season. And so it's kind of crazy how it all came together. But I remember thinking like spring would be the next season, because I did winter for Ski Weekend and I did summer for Summer Rental. I was like, okay, I got to do spring. And like, I'm not a farmer. I didn't even know this. I don't know how it perfectly worked out, but apparently garlic is a spring crop. And so I was like, perfect, garlic, spring, vampires. And that's kind of how I had the whole idea for the third book. And it worked out great. I'm like, I think it was meant to be, because for all those things to line up was pretty cool.
Definitely, definitely. And obviously there are many different kinds of vampires throughout media. How did you decide what you wanted your vampires to look like?
That's such a great question. So I've been a long time reader myself. I love anything vampire related. I've probably read or watched every single vampire book and TV show, which I know you've read Spring Harvest. I think people who read it probably get that right away. Like, okay, this chick like knows vampires or has read a lot of them, because I kind of put in these little Easter eggs if you've seen like Salem's Lot or The Lost Boys. I knew I wanted to do something different with my vampires because there's so many books and shows out there, and there's so much lore and mythology about the vampires. I didn't want to do the same thing over and over, just because, not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's been done. And I think just for me, I wanted to kind of do something unique and put my own take on it. And I also, because my books, at least these 4, all take place in the contemporary world and they're contemporary thrillers, I wanted to come up with a vampire that, like, yes, it doesn't currently exist as we know in the contemporary world, but it could. And so it was really important to me not to do like the typical fantasy, fantastical Twilight vampire, as much as I love that vampire. And I will watch anything like the Vampire Diaries, I love that. but I knew I didn't want my vampires to be like that. I wanted my vampires to be very realistic, that you actually could see this happening to you if you were on a trip with your friends, driving in the middle of nowhere, Oregon, to a farm town, that like this could actually happen to you. And so I knew that my vampires were going to have to be science-based and not fantasy-based. And those are the kind of vampires that I came up with. And they are actually genetic vampires. So in the world that this is written in Spring Harvest, these vampires could happen at any moment in time. There's nothing magical about them, although they do have some fun little special powers, because I feel like if you have vampires, you got to have some supernatural special strength, but their actual mythology is very much rooted in science and in evolution. And it's not a mythical, crazy fantasy vampire.
Definitely. Okay, so we're driving through the desert and we see Garlic Town and we jump to vampires. Then you've also set it specifically at like a music festival. Is that just for the spring season? Is this because Desert Coachella, like you're just picking up on those vibes? How did you land on that setting?
You know, I just thought it would be really fun. I don't know if there was necessarily like an impetus to why are these group of friends going to a music festival. For this series, for all 4 of these books, it's always groups, because I love to kind of unpack the dynamic in a group. It's really fun. It's really hard as a writer, and I don't know that I'm going to be doing groups forever after these 4 are done, but it is really fun to have a bunch of different dynamics in a cast of characters and be able to play with that. And in each book, they're all going somewhere. It's like strangers in a strange land, because I love that trope. They're all a little bit out of their element. They're somewhere they haven't been before, they don't have experience with, because I think that adds a little bit of the fear and the excitement to it. And so I needed to have some occasion that these group of, you know, about to graduate college people would be in a car together, driving, going somewhere different. And I, you know, spring break obviously came to mind. I'm like, it's got to be spring break. That makes sense. But the actual music festival, I think I just, in my mind, it kind of goes hand in hand. When you think of spring now, you do think of spring and summer festivals. So you think of Coachella and you think of Stagecoach and you think of Bottle Rock and, you know, Electric Daisy, which was just here in Vegas. So I think it just sounded like a really fun, like thing for them to do. And I think a lot of readers love music festivals. And so I thought it was kind of like a cool way to engage and get people excited about it, because that's a fun thing to think about going to. But then I think visually, I really loved the idea of a bunch of vampires just going like crazy at a music festival and just starting to take down the humans. And so visually, I think it was also like a really fun thing and really fun scene to think about, of like when the vampires finally attack. Although you don't necessarily see it in the book, it's happening. And I think just thinking about how that might happen is kind of fun. And one day I hope it's going to be a movie or TV show. So maybe you'll see a little bit more of what that actually looks like that Alix and her friends didn't get to see. But I think just visually and also just for the readers, I think it was a really fun idea. And then I was able to play with all of these really cool little interrelated pieces to the book. So I don't know if you got far enough, but there's like a playlist at the end of the book that directly ties with all of the scenes in the book, but also like it's super fun to do a playlist when you're doing a Coachella themed book. Yeah. And then I got to, you know, make the stickers, and I made the bracelets for swag, and the bracelets are something you see in all the music festivals. So I think it was fun to kind of make it a whole experience for the reader as well. But yeah, there wasn't really a magic to it. It just sounded like something fun, and I think it worked out.
That's fair. I get that. All right, you talked a little bit about creating group dynamics and having a specific group of characters go off on this adventure.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the characters for Spring Harvest? Tell me about Alix and everyone and how you figured out how they all fit together.
Yeah, you know what is so funny about Alix is that I really love her. She's probably my favorite of all the characters I've written so far. But so many readers have problems with her. So it's so funny how like you'll have an idea in your head of like something that you think works perfectly. And then when it goes to the readers, like at that point, it's up to them to take it as they will. I wrote Alix because all of my other characters, which I love all of them, but they all so far up until Alix have been like the nice girl, you know, like the typical sweet, nice girl. Like Sam in Ski Weekend was, you know, kind of like an introvert and kind of off to herself a little bit, but she was very sweet. She was very nice. She didn't get into fights with people. She had strong opinions, especially when it came to like what these kids should do in the middle of a snowstorm. but she got along with people. She was nice. She was easygoing. She didn't have an ego. In fact, she thought she wasn't anything special. And then the same with Riley. So Riley is my heroine in Summer Rental. And she was like in this group of mean girls, and she was the only nice girl in the group of mean girls. And so I've written consistently like these really nice, sweet girls that I do think they have a great character arc, and they do, you know, find inner strength towards the end. That's what helps them kind of get through their journey in their thrillers. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna write like a badass. Like I'm gonna write a character that like makes no apology. Like she knows that she is attractive. She knows that she's cool. She knows that she's smart. She knows she's got a lot to offer. She's not going to suffer fools. She's, you know, she's just going to be herself unapologetically and just do what she wants and like rule the world. And it's just funny because so many people are like, oh, this is like, of all your characters, like she's a bitch. And like, she's not a bitch. First of all, I really don't think she is, in my own opinion. But she is a badass, and she is very tough, and she just is exactly who she is. And a lot of readers don't like that. And I think they all kind of came around to the end where they saw she's got this really amazing. I think for me, she has the most fun character arc. And I think a lot of people grew to really like her towards the end. Like a lot of the reader feedback is like, I hated her, but then I loved her at the end. I really was rooting for her. But it's just funny how many people hated her, even starting from the beginning. And I'm like, well, so in my mind, I'm like, I don't know. Do I really want to write any more strong female characters? Like, maybe that's not what people want. I mean, we could go on forever talking about what that means and what that speaks to for just society. And a lot of my readers are women. And so I think it is super interesting. And the men didn't seem to have a problem with her. Like my male readers seem to really like her. It's the female readers, but I think it's really funny. I don't know. I'm sure there's something I did wrong as well that maybe made her seem like bitchier or meaner than I meant for her. But it is hilarious that the one like super strong, you know, girl power girl I wrote, people have a problem with. They do like her towards the end. And I think that they really do appreciate her character arc. But yeah, that's why I came up with Alix. Funny enough, I was actually really inspired by Alex Earl on TikTok. So I watch a lot of social media, and I really loved like her personality. I've always thought she was super, you know, very cool, very strong, says what's on her mind, like just seems like a very confident, never met her, but seems at least online like a very confident, interesting person. I was like, that's the kind of character I want to write. So Alix is really easy for me. And then I really enjoyed writing her best friend, Zoe, because in all of my other books, there's not really great girl friendships. And I actually have some amazing girl friendships. And it didn't work in the other two stories I was telling. There's certain reasons why there couldn't be a strong female friendship. But in Spring Harvest, I really wanted to like show people how amazing a really strong, like what a strong, good, healthy female best friendship looks like. And that was, I knew I wanted to do like Alix and Zoe and have them have that super tight relationship. And you can follow them throughout the book. And I don't want to spoil anything, but like that is one thing that stays consistent, is how much those two truly, truly love and care for each other. And like both of them are ride or dies for each other. Like they would literally do anything for the other woman. And so I think those two are really easy. And then I knew Kade, I knew I wanted to have like the dark, sexy, mysterious guy, because like you've got to have that in a vampire story, right? And so he was easy. And then everyone else kind of just fit in there.
That makes sense. Since we're talking about how you envision your characters versus how they're interpreted by people when they pick up the books, what do you think as a writer when you get feedback on your work, when you hear from fans that they really like something or really don't like something? How do you let that influence your work for the next book?
Oh my God, that's such a great question. Jessica, that's an amazing question. And I'm still processing it. I think, I do try to listen. I have a really good relationship with my fans. I am pretty open on social media. I always have like in the back of my books and on my socials, I say like, hey, I'd love to hear from you. And I generally mean that. And I think people like love to take me up on it. So I do get, maybe more than a lot of writers, I do get a lot of like emails and DMs, because I like to keep the communication avenue open. I was a reader first and a fangirl first. And I know how much it always meant to me to hear from, writers and authors that I really enjoyed. And so I wanted to kind of have that relationship with my readers. And so I probably hear comments more than a lot of authors, whether that's good or bad. I do try to stay away from reviews. And I learned that through now my third book. And that was a slow process to learn. It can be really hard. And sometimes we can't always avoid them, especially like the trade reviews, or if someone tags you in something. I try to ignore it especially if it's like, if I come across a 1 or a 2-star review, I honestly I don't even think about those, or something that's super, super negative in the media, because there's no point in that. Like, there's not going to be a positive takeaway for me. And everyone's entitled. I do not interact or get involved in anything negative. I don't talk about it. I let it go. I don't ever bring it up, because there's nothing to be won by that. I'm not going to learn anything. If someone's going to 1 or 2-star my work, like, there's not anything productive that I can learn from that person or that conversation. And they're 100% entitled to their opinion. And I'm grateful that they read the book and gave me, some of their time. But I don't think that that's feedback for me. If I get, a 4-star or a 5-star and even a 3-star, and it's someone I trust, someone that like has read a few of my books, maybe not like the first book or something, but has been with me on the journey, and they make a comment, then like or if they go out of their way to DM me or email me, I will definitely take that into consideration. And I do think it's interesting, because I just had this conversation with a friend of mine who's getting into writing, and I really do. A lot of writing is for me because I love it and I can't imagine doing anything else. However, if it was only for me, I would write my books and I would stick them in a little shelf and I would never open them again, right? A bigger part of me probably is like this inherent like need to entertain others and to help others escape. I had a lot of stuff going on when I was a kid. For me, reading was such a huge escape outlet for me. And I truly want to be that for other people. And so I really want like readers to have a good experience as much as I'm able to give them. And so if there's feedback that I think is like valuable that relates to that reader experience, I do take it in, because I do want my readers to really enjoy my writing. And I do consider like my community, I have like a community, and I do consider them like my friends and my like my group of people. And I want them to be like lifetime community and readers for me. I don't want people to just read one book and never come back. Like, I'm trying to grow a readership and a relationship. And so if I'm able to do something, I 100% will take that feedback and we'll put that in the next book. And that's why I have trouble with Alix, because I really do love her, but I'm like, maybe for book 4, maybe she won't be just quite so tough. Like, I don't know. So those little things I do a little bit. Oh, and then I don't want to give away a spoiler, but the way that Spring Harvest ends, I thought, and my editors and everyone, all my early readers, all thought it was wonderful. Like, I'm extremely conscious of like rules in writing. I love that kind of stuff. I study it. I know what readers are expecting. I always want to really give the reader what they want. So like when a reader opens a romance, and you probably know this, but a romance, like the number one rule in a romance is you have to give them a happily ever after. You cannot have a romance book and like kill the love, the main love person or whatever, or like have them break up, because that's no longer a romance. And when people do that, they like crash and burn. So I know the rules, right? But in a thriller rules are very different from a romance rule.
It's true.
Romance book. And this is not, Spring Harvest is not a romance. Like, I've never said it was a romance. It's not. If you look at this cover, like, this is not. It clearly says above my head, a thriller. But for better or worse, and I think it's a compliment, I did write a romance in this book, a romance subplot, not a romance novel. And I think people got super invested in the romance subplot. And a lot of people, more than I thought, they all liked the book. No one was like, I hate the book. I mean, everyone loved it, but like a lot of people were like, man, I wish like there was more. I wish there was a sequel. I wish like there was more on the end. And if that's tied to the romance, I never would have thought it, because it's a thriller and you don't normally see that in a thriller, but I am taking that feedback very much into consideration, especially for the rest of my books, because I never would have thought that. And I've gotten it so consistently in Spring Harvest that I'm like, okay, well, now I know, even though I write thrillers, if I'm going to put a romance subplot, like there's going to be a lot of readers that are going to want something like some kind of thing. And I don't think it's bad. Like no one's been like, I hate it, or like, I wish I hadn't. It's nothing negative like that, but it's like, they clearly want something more. And so I'm even taking into consideration, do I write, you know, a bonus epilogue and give them what they want? Do I, you know, in book 4, do I have a scene where like I give them the closure that they really want in Spring Harvest? So I am listening, guys. I am listening. And I'm not trying to be a jerk. I just really did not think that in a thriller, I didn't think people would care so much, but they do.
I mean, it's good that they're that invested.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, and look,
Exciting.
the nicest compliment you can ever get as a writer is like, oh, I'm just so angry. I wish this book had a sequel. Or like, I don't think this book is, I think this is a standalone and that makes me angry because I wish it was a series. Like that is a compliment.
It's true. And you were talking a little bit about hopefully potentially adapting this to your film in the future. If you did have the opportunity to do that, would you then try to expand on that plot and extend
Yes,
romance?
yes. So it's so funny. So I love film and TV. Like my books are very cinematic. I get that all the time, and that's on purpose because I do hope to eventually turn all of them into film or TV properties as well. Ski Weekend, for example, is currently in pre-production, so that's super exciting. Like there's producers attached. It's really fun and good and exciting, and I love the guys that are producing it, and we're in the screenwriting phase. And we're right now talking about the changes that we probably have to make to Ski Weekend to make it fit TV more. And Summer Rental, I have like such cool ideas for that as a movie as well. It's a really fun, self-contained thriller horror, like a slasher murder mystery. I think that is going to be a great movie, and we're working on that right now, trying to figure out the direction. But Spring Harvest, I think part of it is all the reader feedback that people are like so irritated and want more. That one in my mind, even though it's a little bit harder, I really envision this as a TV show or like a limited edition series. And I absolutely will add an ending to it that I think readers will want. Very similar to, I don't know if you saw the movie, The Idea of You. It just came out with Anne Hathaway. I don't know if you read the book.
I've not read the book.
Have you seen the movie?
I did see the movie, and I had someone who had read the book tell me about the book.
So I don't want to ruin it for anyone or ruin it for you, but I loved the book. It was like one of my favorite reads when I read it. I read it a long time ago. And I think, because I probably had that feedback as well, that like, it's not supposed to be a romance. So I don't think that she screwed up, but it's the same thing. Like you get so invested in the love story that I think as a reader, you like, it's women's fiction. It's not a romance. So women's fiction, you can do what you want. Like Me Before You was women's fiction, you know, like you can like kill people or whatever. But I think sometimes people still get upset because they get so involved in the romance. And I think she probably got, like, if you read the reviews on Amazon, I think she probably got so much reader feedback about the ending that like, she definitely changed the ending. And she gave you like the happily ever after in the movie that you don't get in the book. And so I think like, I think that's really cool that they did that. And that's probably something that I would do similar with Spring Harvest when hopefully I'm given the opportunity to make it into like a TV show. It could be a movie, but in my head, it's a TV show.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me. I would also say it fits better for a TV format.
Thank you. I just think it'd be fun and exciting. And like, there's so much drama. I feel like it'd be cool in little episodic stories.
For sure. All right. I have some rapid fire ones for you. So
okay, I love rapid fire. Okay, go.
Keep it quick. First thing that comes.
Okay, so it's like the first thing that comes to mind.
Let's go for it. The Spring Harvest character you're most like.
Probably Alix. But I'm not a bitch, but probably Alix. I am nice though, but yeah, probably Alix. No more explanation.
What would be your Garlic Groove festival food order?
Garlic fries. Delicious.
For sure. Since you are a vampire fan, what vampire expert or vampire hunter from another piece of media would you bring in to help your characters?
Buffy.
Beautiful, of course.
Buffy.
Are you a hardcover, paperback, ebook, audiobook girl?
I'm an ebook girl, which is crazy because I never thought I would be, but I'm starting to really like audiobooks too.
Same.
Paperbacks I collect just because they're beautiful, but I don't read them anymore.
Gotta do it.
Too much work. Ebooks just so easy. You just sit in bed and, click the page.
Good for travel. Take them all with me.
100%.
Right. Vampire Diaries or Gossip Girl?
Oh, are you kidding me?
I know.
That's like my two. Rapid. Oh my God. I don't know if I could pick between the two. I love both so much. You literally picked like two of my absolute favorite. Like I've watched both of them probably 20 times. I'm probably gonna go with Vampire Diaries because it has vampires, but it also is a little bit more romantic, and I'm probably a little bit more of a romantic at heart. But I love the crap out of Gossip Girl. That is a really hard one for me because that's definitely on top.
Good, good. All right. As a fellow author and a reader, give another author a shout out, recommend somebody's book or something that you're reading currently that you really enjoy.
Yeah, so my girlfriend Sorbani and her co-writer Dominique, they have a series out called Red is Blood, and it's a young adult thriller. It's really good. It's like a crazy twist on fairy tales. It's Sorbani Banerjee and Dominique Richardson, if you want to like look them up or in Google or whatever. And they are both really amazing, wonderful, incredible human beings. They actually run a nonprofit book festival designed to help shape young minds in Florida and get them more into reading and writing. It's called Why by the Bay, and I spoke at it this year. So I definitely give them a shout out. And then I don't think he needs a shout out because he's like so huge and famous, but I will definitely shout out R.L. Stine because I did meet him this year, Bob as we call him. But I was on a panel with him actually at YA by the Bay. And they say like never meet your heroes. And I have had some bad moments meeting my heroes, but he was the complete opposite. Like I grew up reading his books. Even in Summer Rental, I have like a dedication and he's listed in it. And he could not have been nicer and sweeter and more amazing. And so I say, give that man all of his flowers. I can't wait for the next Fear Street movies to come out, but the Prom Queen or whatever, but I love him. And he's someone in the industry that 100% deserves the hype and all the love. So I think those will be my two shout outs.
Beautiful. That's very good to hear because I am an R.L. Stine fan.
He's incredible. Nicest man ever.
Good. All right. Last one for you. Why should everybody read Spring Harvest?
I think Spring Harvest would be an amazing book if you're looking for something just really fun and exciting and to take your mind off of anything bad or anything stressful going in your life. I think it 100% is the perfect summer beach read because you will just get super sucked into it and you won't think about anything else for the 6 hours that you're reading it. And then I will say the other thing that I really love about Spring Harvest is I'm a huge animal lover. And I think if you are too, you will really like the message in the book. And I'm not a big like in your face messaging person, but there definitely is an underlying theme of this book. And that's we should respect animals and nature. And that's part of our job as human beings on this planet. When we start to not respect animals and nature, shit goes really bad for us. And so there's definitely themes of that in the book. And I think I was really proud to write something about that because I feel a really personal, deep connection with animals and the way that animals are treated, especially in factory farming. And so I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit, but like in a fun, not over your, hitting you over the head way. But I think it's a perfect, fun beach read. And if you want to get a little bit deeper, I think there's a lot to talk about there when we talk about how we're treating animals and what we're doing with nature.
Definitely. All right. Well, very exciting, everybody. Go grab your copy.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for talking with me today.
Thank you so much for having me on. And also, if anyone wants to find me, I did say this, and I do love to connect with readers and other writers and anyone else at Rektok Ross. So it's my pen name at REKTOKROSS. I am there everywhere, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, everything. I have a reader group. Come find me and say hello.
There you go. Sounds good. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.